you've just started painting minis, then you've probably experienced your paints drying out really frustratingly quickly. If you have, then a wet palette is going to solve this problem for you, as they keep your paints wet for hours instead of minutes. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a wet palette for less than £5. If you can spend a few more dollars, then you can buy pre-made wet palettes. This wet palette by Army Painter is a pretty good option that's pretty cheap. It's just a bit neater and a nicer overall package, but it does the same thing. I have a link below to that. So what you need to make a homemade wet palette is a Tupperware container. You want it to be as shallow as possible, because that just makes it easier to use. You also need a sponge or paper towel folded up, and you'll need baking paper and just some water. So first of all, what you want to do is cut out a rectangle of your baking paper to fit inside your Tupperware container. You want to make it just slightly smaller than the Tupperware container so it fits in neatly. Then what you need to do is put your sponge in the Tupperware container. So what you do then is you pour in water until the sponge is fully wet and there's just a little bit of water freely standing in the bottom of the container. You don't want it too dry or too soaking wet. Then you put down your baking paper on top of the sponge, and then you need to firmly press it down and squeeze out all the bubbles. So start at one end and run your hand along it so you can press out all the bubbles out the side of the sponge. So once you've done this, you should see the water through the baking paper, like the dampness of the sponge under the baking paper. If you can't, then you're going to need to press out more of the air or wet the sponge a bit more. Finally, if there's a big pool of water in the bottom of your container, then just pour a little bit of it out. So yeah, that's all you need to do to make a homemade wet palette. Once you put paint on there, you'll see that it'll last for hours instead of minutes, and it makes painting a whole lot easier. Thanks for watching. Yeah, good luck with your wet palette, and I hope it helps you paint better.